Thanks for letting me in.
Yeah, no worries. All right. On that note,
All right. Hey, so I just wanted to say to kind of kick it off that um, we appreciate everybody attending today. Thank you for your time as it took us a little while to get started here. But we've seen just a lot of interest from particularly municipalities, county governments around this whole issue of 311, 811, incident management, work order management. So there's just a ton of things going on when it comes to this area. And so we wanted to share with you some of the things that we're doing with regards to with our other customers. And so hopefully you'll see something that meets your requirements.
awesome. Thanks, Kirk. Yeah, so thanks everybody for showing up today. Like Kirk said, we'll be kind of discussing both the 311 aspects and work order management solutions that we've done for other customers here at Autocene. A couple of things that we'll probably be going over is request management, so ticketing, grabbing those citizen requests and servicing queries, automated follow ups to those citizens or to the public, configurable design, how we can change things up, how we can take those existing Autoscene applications and configure them to your needs, and show you just how quick and easy those dashboards and interfaces are to navigate, interact with, and how you can have that either in a hosted environment or even an on premise environment. Throughout this presentation, as we move along through, uh, you could definitely ask questions in the chat. We love to answer questions. We'll pick some kind of different stopping points to take those questions in the moment, but we definitely encourage that. So we'll get right to it here. So I'll just close this out here. So, kind of going off of our initial kind of understanding of Autoscene. So, for those who are new to the Autoscene platform, Autoscene is completely web based. And there's three components to Autoscene that we're going to be talking about today. Number one is our application and fully fledged web portal. And this is where your users, internal to the organization or uh, faced out to the public or external vendors, can actually interact with the applications that we're going to be showing today. Other component that we're going to be talking about today also is Autocene Passport. This is a piece of middleware that acts primarily as our integration engine, and it also allows us to do some really neat automated tasks, automations from system to system, and allows us to create those various different outputs that are coinciding with the applications that you utilize. So let's start off right from the front here. So Autoscene as a web portal means that you can really face this out anywhere. This is great because we've had a number of different municipal, state, and federal customers kind of take this portal right off the shelf and face this out to the public and to their vendors. Now, the portal, there's a lot of different ways that you can interact with the portal. Currently, we are logged in as my account here. Uh, so that means that my account has a number of different roles and features that are attributed to that account. And that means that I may see different automations like this, different widgets on the home screen. I may have a number of different favorite applications that I utilize on a regular basis. Maybe I do vendor invoicing, or maybe I do POs or something along those lines. But internal to the organization, we'll have a strict kind of interaction with the portal that is relegated to what our account is doing. Now, on the other hand, Autoscene can also be phased out to the public, and that means there's a number of different ways that you can phase this out in terms of user experience. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to open up a different tab here, and we're going to take this and we're going to paste this over to our Chrome browser here. So you can see Autocene as a web platform can work across a number of different internet browsers. Well, we have the ability to utilize guest accounts. So this is a great way of kind of a quick and easy way of grabbing somebody's email or grabbing contact information. Maybe we do email@email.com and allow them to quickly on the fly create a guest account that they may have access to a number of different applications that are in the guest role. And you can see we have our 311 applications here that are up front for us to use and begin utilizing. You can also face these applications out by themselves. So even though we have a guest account here that has limited access to different resources, you can actually take your applications like this 311 request here that I'm starting and actually have that be faced as a standalone application. That means you can stand this up as its own page, meaning that you don't need an account like this. You don't need to navigate through the home screen or the main portal to face that application out. It's a great way of kind of launching standalone applications and standalone pages that you'd normally go through the hassle of building from scratch as maybe a .NET page or procuring another vendor as a point solution to go through that process. Now, the first thing that we're going to talk about, the first application that we're discussing today actually is the 311 request system. So this is a great use case for the Autocene platform because we were able to actually stand up a template like this 311 request system that is fully flexible to meet a number of different municipalities. And today we're going to be showing the City of Leduc's 311 proof of concept, but we've had a number of different municipalities of different sizes actually utilize the same template in a number of different ways. So let's start off from the point of view of a citizen requesting some information here. So there's a couple of different tabs. You can see that the application and the user interface that comes with it is completely configurable. So colors, buttons, widgets, things of that nature, you can fully configure to whatever user experience you're looking to interact with. So a couple of things that we see right off the bat, we have my settings, my requests, recent requests, and new requests. So in a 311 setting, there may be a number of different requests that are filing through, and there may be a number of different public entities that are reporting on the same issue, or a number of different citizens that are reporting on that issue. Now, how do we begin to keep track of that? How do we, or how are we able to show those same requests to multiple different people so that we don't have duplicate reporting? And how do we get back to them if they do want to report back? So the first thing that we're going to talk about actually is the My Settings feature here. So the My Settings feature has a core line of different inputs that you can interact with for a citizen that is looking to get information back. This is completely voluntary, so they can voluntarily put their first name, their last name, their email, and their phone number for contact information. This allows us to grab that information and then reach out to them to follow up on a ticket. With our guest account feature here, you can also start to utilize things like My Requests, where we can go in and view all the current requests that a certain person has submitted or allow them to keep track of that. Now, from a public standpoint, there may be a number of different requests that are open and that we may want to make available to the public so that they understand that there is an ongoing issue in that area. So we have a couple of different examples here. Well, there may be a coyote sighting in a number of different places that are happening, and there may be a number of different people that are going to report on that same issue. So to reduce the noise, what we've done is we've configured the application to allow public requests to be open to the public. And that means that you can toggle the viewability of that request to the public or to different parties of people. This is utilizing the Autocene kind of roles and features that come with the platform, or that you can actually integrate with your human resource system with to grab that hierarchy and that role and settings that you may already have set out. Now, if we open up one of these tickets, of course, we can read out the information that's coming in with that ticket. That means you can pull in things like historical information. You can represent pictures as well. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this. Now, the core feature of this system is an easy way to get these requests in. So what we're going to do is we're going to click a new request here. And that's going to pull us up to our navigation page for the different categories of requests that we'd often see. So you can see that road and maintenance, or signs, lights and traffic signals, or common park things, or water and sewer, so on and so forth. These categories completely flexible, so we've had a number of different customers utilize this system right up front, meaning that they set their categories and their different ticket types, but we've also had different customers actually subcategorize these as well. So if you had animal concerns, and let's say that you had coyote sightings and concerns, well, there might be a subcategory to that as well that you'd want to put in there for a very specific or niche request. Now, what I've done is I've selected our coyote sightings and concerns category type, and it's going to open up the main information that we're looking to record for that specific request from the public. So Autocene, we can record, of course, base metadata. So this is the stuff that we care about. In this regard, we have our location, our description, and since this is a specific category, we can have specifics to that category as well. So with animal concerns in that, there may be types of behavior that we'd want to record. Well, on a different request, we go maybe back to our fence and noise barriers here. There may be different things that we'd want to record about that issue, like type of fence or the issue with that fence. So each category can have subs of different kind of corresponding information that's niche to that request, so that you can begin to tailor out and create a very streamlined user experience. So I'll select our coyote sightings here. And what you can do is we can, of course, record our metadata, but we can also attach files and photos. So the great thing about Autocene being a web portal is that we have the ability to actually hook up directly to your camera roll or to your phone's file system, or to the device's kind of file system as well. So if you take a photo with that device, you want to save it for later. Maybe you slip and fell on somebody's sidewalk due to ice concerns or something along those lines. You may want to take a photo of that ice patch and then go home and fill out the request instead of doing it in the moment. You have complete ability to do that. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to attach a photo here. Again, files and file types, they're completely configurable. That means you can only allow maybe JPEGs or PNGs, stuff like that. I'm going to attach a picture of my dog here just for today's kind of example here. Those types of things you can add. You can have your attachment controls embedded within the application itself, or you can use the add attachment box at the bottom. You can toggle this on or off, or you can utilize attachment controls throughout your application. Let's say that we see this this coyote at 24th Ave Northeast. Locations can be generic. They can be extrapolated on, meaning that you can then take and hook up things like GIS systems, so geographical information systems. That means you can pull in maybe known street addresses, things of that nature, or even mapping features within your Autocene system. We're going to put in a brief description, so you can definitely put in a number of different information elements. So brief info. Again, you can have validations on this as well. So if we require the info, you can validate that and have a number of different business rules fall into place for that. Type of behavior, well, maybe they are aggressive. Maybe we see them out on the pathway. So we want to report on that. So saw coyote on the park pathway near main gate. This type of supplemental information, along with your pictures, can provide insight to your agents who are going to respond to this. So after we're done kind of reporting on this and filling out our information, there's a couple of different things at the bottom here that are going to allow us to set the privacy controls of this. You can see that reporter information will not be made to the public, so the person, even though they're making a guest account or providing credentials in their reporter information for contact, we are not going to share that with the public. It's not needed, and we want to make sure that people understand that. We can also give the requester the ability to share it with the public. That means we're giving the choice to them to share that information right up front as this ticket is made live. It also means that this toggle feature within this application set can actually be moved to the position of administrator as well. So you could set certain categories to be always public or to have the public option. It really depends on the category in that. So after the person's done, they've filled out the request, they can hit submit. Now, submitting in Autocene does a number of different things. It's kind of our launch point, and it's an event that kind of strikes out and sends in information to the system and enables processing rules to start engaging. You can see here that we have an anti-spam feature come up, so the automation has actually sent to this email address the confirmation for them to enter in and allow the workflow to kick off in the background. So let's just take a quick question here. How long does it take to ramp something up like this 311 application? That's a really interesting question. So because of the nature of no code and Autocene kind of being a no code environment, you can actually quickly prototype and build out and configure these applications in a fraction of the time that you'd normally spend on building out a proof of concept or even building out a fully fledged application. In terms of the 311 application here, this took us actually 2 days to make the main template that you see here, where we have the public feature and the administration features that I'm going to be showing in a moment here. So if you're looking for a platform to provide you the ability to take on a number of different projects and create those in a fraction of the time, no code is definitely the future in doing that. You no longer need the team of developers to make things from scratch, and you are able to actually add consistency to your environments to where we no longer need to have disparate point solutions or disparate code environments, meaning that if, let's say, a developer left today and they had a certain project that they were working on, well, we no longer need to backtrack through that application to understand their code. Everything's consistent in a no-code environment. It allows really the flexibility for seamless handoffs between departments. Now, what I've done is I've logged into our administration account here. And the administration account is actually going to receive actions based on those requests that are coming through here. So you can see I actually have a 311 request from before. I'm actually going to take action on that. And by taking action, it's going to bring up the full information about what's happening with that application. So you can see here that there's already been a request for an animal sighting. Well, we can see the formation of that ticket request and where it's moving through the system. You can see that I, as an agent, have already been assigned this request, and I can begin taking action on that. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to take a moment here to go to our administration dashboards here. So I'm just going to go to our available templates. The available templates is basically all your Autocene applications that are available to that account. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up our admin and our department consoles here. For our 311 application set, we actually have a main admin console and we have a department console. And that means you can begin to segregate information for scalability reasons. So if you have a parks and recreation department, well, they may have only their specific requests that you want to see. So I'm just going to go back in time here. You can see that maybe the department that I'm associated with has these requests available to me. For the admin console, we can extend the ability to see information. So from an admin point of view, I may have more availability to the information to report on. And I could see maybe multiple departments and the requests behind that. So we just have another question here. Really fits into what we're talking about. What kind of reporting and audit capabilities does the platform have? So Autocene by default actually sits on a Microsoft SQL server. Um, it it pushes all that information from each application to that server so that you can record that information. And of course, the application itself and the information that you put into it is the information that you're going to get out at the end of the reporting. And because of the nature of Autocene's dynamic ability to input that information by default into the Autocene database, you're able to quickly create reports and ad hoc reports based on that information. It also means we actually have a full audit trail of that information as it's moving through the system. So we talked a little bit about our available action here. Well, we have a full audit scope as that 311 request is moving through the system. So our initial request here, and then the assignment to the agent and department. So we'll just go back to our admin console here. There's a couple things that we can begin adding to the different aspects here. So let's go into this open ticket here. By opening a ticket, we can provide a drill down sense into the information. So the next type of application that you'd regularly see within an Autocene environment are these reporting dashboards. So you can begin to create an application specifically for viewing information and for management of that information. So in the admin console here, I have all my different requests between a certain date and time range, while I can also add additional filtering to that information as well. Filters can be as few, like this, or as extensive as you want them to be. Again, kind of going off that question we just talked about, all that information that is traveling through your Autocene environment is being recorded. Same with the audit logs. So you have the full capability to report on that and also filter that information. So let's drill down on this Coyote sightings and concerns. It's currently open. But by opening the ticket, we have the base information up front here. We can see that it's currently shared with the public. Well, I could toggle that off. I could say we want to hide that from the public. You can see we've set that to false there as well. We can add notes, so you can see that some administrators have added some notes, and the department has also added some notes to this ticket. So you can add information as this is traveling through the system. You don't need to submit the page to do that. We can just simply add some more notes. And of course, you have the full audit log to see what the current notes are and also the historical range of those notes. Everything is given a date and time stamp in these applications, and when you're configuring them, you can also dump additional information into secondary systems and tables as well. So as a ticket is traveling through the system here, I'm also going to take this next question talking about how we can split out tickets and how we can actually add information to a main and primary ticket. So let's say that we get a ticket about a debris in the back lane. Well, depending on the back lane and depending on the type of debris, there may be a number of different departments or individuals that may need to coincide with a ticket. Now, if we go into the options of this ticket, it's given a primary department. We can change that department, of course, and assign it to a different person. But other customers have actually expanded on the configuration of this application template and added the ability to add sub-tickets and sub-departments. So you could have a primary department be attached to a ticket, but you could also have sub-departments and sub-tickets also assigned. So let's give you an example here. Let's say there's some debris in the back lane that is blocking the alley and blocking half of the road. Well, there may be two parts to the story. Number one is the debris itself, so we need city services to go clean that up. But the second part is maybe that garbage or maybe the debris has food within it, and it's attracting maybe wildlife to that, and there may be aggressive coyote or aggressive animal near that pile. Well, we could have a sub-ticket as well, because we'll probably be getting requests about wildlife interacting with that debris. So you can have a hierarchy of tickets based on the configuration of your application. Again, we give you the foundation. You're able to add on to that foundation, take away from that foundation of the application. So what we'll do here is we'll just go into our actions here. We'll just check if there's another 311 request, but if there's not, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a new request here, just to show you the action types as we begin to travel through. So let's create a new request here. Let's say that there's some debris in the back lane. Let's attach our photo. So maybe there's a photo that we want to attach. We'll just attach this Power BI photo. We'll say that it's on 24th Street. We'll have some description, and we'll have the type of debris. Maybe there's some broken glass, and we'll say that we saw this yesterday, and we want to share this with the public. Again, submitting this information is going to create a new ticket request, specifically for this accounts department here, because this debris in the back lane request here. So I'm going to submit that information. It's going to go to this department's account here. You can see that I received a new action there, and that the main account is also going to receive a notification. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to go to my actions queue. You can see that we have a new action here. It's going to showcase what the decay is on that action. It's going to give you some additional information as well. Well, we can actually take action on this request. And based on our 311 layout, what we can do is we can actually assign it to a different department, or we can complete the request right off the bat. So this gives you a really friendly queue of your different requests coming in. We have some base information that we can embed in the top, but we can also have the main department group email receive the information up front as well. So you can see the base of this request and the attachments that come along with that. It might be a screenshot of what you're looking to attach there. The help desk for that the request system here can click here to take action directly from this email as well. Now, we have our action. What can we do with this? Well, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to assign it to a department here. Assigning it to a department is going to open up a new aspect of the request here. So because it is public service request, we're going to assign it to the department. In this configuration schema, this is taking into account that you may have a frontline help desk that is actually moving these tickets to different departments. However, you can actually hook up your category system directly to the workflow routing of the ticket. So if you wanted to say have it directly go to that department and have each department come into play for what the ticket is about, they can receive that up front with their group email. So I've assigned it to public services. I can add notes, of course, to this as well as the help desk agent, but we don't need to add any additional notes. I'm going to hit submit. So we've now assigned it to the public service department here. Public services is now going to receive the action chain of what is happening with this ticket. Again, I'm also falling into that department, so I'll also receive this email in the workflow here. So just give it 1 second. We can see that our action queue is updated again. So our most recent ticket will also reflect the same information that we're about to receive in our email. So we can see the chain of events coming through. and you also get the chain of events in your email as well. So screenshots of the initial request and the assignment to the department. So what I can do is I can complete the request. And again, we're just adding information as this is traveling through. So in the assignment to the department, this could be assigned to a specific agent or a specific crew to go out to this specific request. Now, you're not always going to have city workers interacting with this. And this kind of takes us to the next part here is how do we begin to create work orders? How do we interact with our external vendors when we assign something like this? So completing a request may close out the ticket. Well, we may want to send this information to an external vendor. Again, you can have your vendors interact with your Autocene portal. So they can have their own accounts. You can onboard them and you can have your own vendor-specific dashboards and interactions. But in most cases, what you want to do is you may want to interact with a vendor through an integration. And that's where we're going to step into our next part here is talking about Autocene Passport and how we can send notifications and information to other systems or to other parties. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to log into our administrative dashboard here. The administration dashboard is for your super users. This contains all your user accounts, your logging, your automations, your reporting needs, but it also contains Autocene Passport. Now, Passport is a piece of middleware that primarily runs integrations, but also does automations and workflow in the background. Now, Passport as an engine consists of these Passport tasks, and I have 7 out of 7 tasks currently. And a task you can think of as a microservice or a microprogram. If you're more familiar with RPA, you can think of it as a bot as well. So basically kind of a containerized list of automations that's doing something with information. Now, what goes into a task? Well, our tasks are configured to have 4 different elements here. So if you can see this XML transformation task, we have events, we have inputs, and we have actions, and we have outputs. So to go through our different block types here for a new task, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say we're going to create a work order task. Now, work orders may go out in a number of different ways. You may want a work order to be created right away when you make a submission through your 311 application. Or you may want them to go out in a batch-oriented process. Maybe at the end of the day, we want all our work orders for the following day to go out, so the vendor has time to schedule that. Well, there's a couple of different ways that you can approach this. For our batch option, you may want your event to start your task to be a scheduled event. A scheduled event is basically setting a time and day and how many recurrences are going to happen of that task. And that's going to start your task to begin creating these work orders. Now, if you want a more live aspect where we have work orders being created on the fly, you may do something like a database event notification or an API webhook. These types of events are triggered instantaneously, and you can begin the chain of events that follow suit. So this type of block, the event block, is basically telling the task when it's going to start and when it's going to use that information. Now, let's say that we want those work orders to happen instantaneously. So we'll keep our SQL event notification. So let's say that when we submit information in the Autocene system, we want to trigger this work order task to start. So this event will pick up that movement and it will start the task. Well, we need an input into the system. Inputs are the input of information into the task so it can begin utilizing that information and then doing something with that information. Now, in a traditional sense, if you're going to be dealing with an API with one of your solutions in-house or dealing with the Autocene API, the inputs that you might see are API oriented. And what I'll do is I'll just pull up this Active Directory connection point. Well, the input could feature login, password, domain, container, but a different API may be your API token, your user account, things of that nature. And you can begin mapping out what the parameters are of that API call. If you have things like SOAP or RESTful services that you already consume on a daily basis that interact with your components or other vendor components, you can utilize our SOAP and REST accessor adapter to interact and consume those services. Now, because I'm pulling information from the SQL database, I may not have an input right away. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to say that there's no input. However, we're going to use an action to grab the information that we need. So I'm going to select an SQL action. The SQL action can be configured to interact with stored procedures, so we could pull a batch of information or a batch of tickets for work orders. Or it could be as something as simple as a select command or something along those lines. Each adapter is autonomous in itself, so the configuration kind of configure that certain adapter to do its specific task. Now let's say that we configure this action here to run a stored procedure and pick up all the tickets and work orders that have not been processed. So we pick that up. Now we have a data stream inside the task. Well, maybe you want to change that data stream because the vendor that we're going to be sending the information to has a different information style. So we may do a direct XML transformation, so changing XML information to a different type of XML information. Or you may utilize our XML to JSON parser. That may switch it over to JSON because a lot of different APIs conform to that type of structured information. Well, that's great. We've pulled our information. We've transformed our information. Well, what can we do next? Well, you may have a direct integration with a third-party tool. So it may be a DocuSign contract that you may spin up for a work order. Or it may be a direct integration. So maybe we want to drop that conformed information into an SFTP location for the vendor to pick up. You could do that as well. And maybe after we change this information, we need to conform it even further by creating a CSV version of that. So we'll stick our CSV action here as well. So pull, change to CSV, and then drop into an SFTP location. You can see that we're running this sequentially. So we're going step, 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 and then we have an output that we can feed. Now, this task can stand by itself. This task could be running. It could do all your work order information and creation. However, you may want that same information to go into one of your other homegrown solutions or other solutions that you have on premise. Well, how do we carry the information that we just processed over here and copy it over to a different task? Well, you can see that I stuck a no output endpoint. That means that we're not outputting an additional file. Well, I can actually remove that. I can create a file message output endpoint, and then I could say point at this directory with this type of information, and then we can have a different task pick that up. You can see that this could watch that same directory, ingest that information, and then maybe transform it further or send it and maybe start an automated workflow in our system. Maybe you want to send it to Oracle's IB framework or to an ERP system or something along those lines. So this is how you can begin to create and configure on the fly those live integrations or live transformations of data to send to other systems quite easily. Now, this doesn't have to be Autocene to other system. This can be third-party system to third-party system. So you're able to make those connections where you see fit, and you can do that by linking tasks together. You can have tasks run in parallel to each other to create these types of outputs. Now, it doesn't look like we have any more questions today. So we're going to be wrapping up our presentation here. I want to thank everybody for kind of walking through with us today on how you can begin to tackle the types of public requests that you might be intaking, uh, and how we can transform that information. We do have an additional question here. So we talked a lot about our applications. We talked a lot about our transformation of information and how we integrate that. But how exactly is this licensed? So we talked a bit about our application set over here, our 311 applications. You can see we have 3 different applications up front. Well, Autocene is licensed on a per application basis. That means that you subscribe to a number of different licenses. Those licenses coincide to the applications that you utilize. So if you subscribe to a pack of 5 Autocene licenses, in the 311 example that we talked about today, it would use 3 of those licenses because we have our 311 application and we have our 2 consoles that we're utilizing. Those templates, there's no restrictions on your license for what you do with those templates or your automations. That means you can attach your workflow modules if you want a workflow module. You can have as many different user interfaces. You can have as many different people use those applications. So this is a great way for you to have public facing applications because there's no per seat cost on the transactions of that application or the use case of that application. It's very simple. You subscribe to that application template and you can use it however you like and have as much use out of it as you like. Kirk, do you have anything to say before we close out for today? If not, I want to thank everyone here for viewing today's presentation. Keep your eyes out for the following webinars that are coming up. We have a number of different types of government applications that we're looking to do a webinar on. Keep your eyes peeled for that. You'll get an email blast or a LinkedIn invite, but I want to thank you for today. And have a great rest of the week.